Have you ever noticed that in the Power universe, the biggest wars rarely start because of business? They start because someone lets their emotions take over. Ghost lost everything because he couldn't separate love from power. Tommy started wars because of loyalty. Rack has made countless dangerous decisions trying to protect her family. Now, in Raising KENAN Season 5, it looks like Marvin is about to become the next victim of that same cycle. After everything that happened with Lulu, Marvin is no longer thinking like the level-headed enforcer we've watched grow over the past several seasons. He's thinking like a grieving brother. And that makes him incredibly dangerous, not just to Unique but to everyone around him. I honestly believe Marvin's hunt for Unique isn't just another revenge story. It's the spark that could ignite the biggest Thomas family war we've seen in the entire series. Let's break down why. The death of Lulu changed everything. For years, Lou was the emotional balance of the Thomas family. Whenever Rack became too ruthless or Marvin became too reckless, Lou often served as the middle ground. Even when he disagreed with them, he still held the family together in ways that weren't always obvious. Now that he's gone, that balance is gone too. Marvin has lost more than a brother. He's lost the one person who could calm him down. That's why every decision Marvin makes now feels fueled by emotion instead of strategy. He's convinced that Unique is responsible. And once Marvin believes something, changing his mind is almost impossible. We've seen this side of him before. When Marvin locks onto a target, he doesn't stop until someone gets hurt. The problem is that revenge clouds judgment. Instead of gathering evidence, Marvin is hunting. Instead of asking questions, he's pulling triggers. Instead of protecting the family, he's risking everything they've built. That alone should worry every fan. But here's where my theory gets interesting. What if Unique isn't actually Marvin's biggest problem? What if someone else wants Marvin chasing Unique? Think about it. While Marvin is running around Queens looking for Unique, who's protecting Rack's business? Who's watching Breeze? Who's paying attention to Stefano? Who's keeping an eye on the police? Nobody. Marvin has become distracted. And distractions are expensive in the Power universe. The smartest criminals don't always eliminate their enemies. Sometimes they simply point them in the wrong direction. Unique understands this better than almost anyone. Throughout the series, he's shown that he doesn't always attack head-on. He waits. He observes. He lets other people destroy themselves. If Marvin spends every waking moment chasing him, then Unique doesn't even need to fight back. Marvin is already damaging himself. We saw hints of this during episode 2. Marvin was paying anyone who claimed they had information. He wasn't verifying anything. He wasn't asking whether the information made sense. He just wanted names. That's exactly how desperate people get manipulated. Sooner or later, someone is going to feed Marvin false information. And when that happens, innocent people could die. Imagine the consequences if Marvin kills the wrong person. Not only would he create new enemies, but he could also force Rack into another unnecessary war. And that's something she absolutely cannot afford right now. Rack is already trying to rebuild her empire. She's forming new partnerships. She's entering unfamiliar territory. She's trying to stabilize a business that's hanging by a thread. The last thing she needs is her own brother creating chaos across Queens. This is where the family conflict begins. I don't think Rack and Marvin are going to stay on the same page for much longer. At first, Rack may support Marvin's desire for justice. After all, Lulu was family. But revenge costs money, costs soldiers, costs territory. Eventually Rack will realize Marvin is creating more problems than he's solving. And when she tells him to stop, I don't think Marvin will listen. That's the biggest difference between Marvin now and the Marvin we met in Season 1. Back then, he obeyed Rack because he respected her leadership. Today, grief has changed him. Pain makes people believe they're right even when they're wrong. Marvin may start seeing Rack as someone who's standing in the way of justice. Once that happens, the Thomas family begins fighting itself. But here's another twist. Kenan is caught in the middle. This is becoming a recurring theme in his life. Every major conflict somehow forces him to choose between family and survival. If Marvin demands loyalty while Rack orders restraint, where does Kenan stand? That's a dangerous position for someone who's already questioning everyone around him. It becomes even more complicated because of Breeze. Breeze has slowly positioned himself as someone Kenan trusts. If conflict breaks out inside the Thomas family, Breeze suddenly becomes the calm voice in Kenan's ear. That's exactly where Breeze wants to be. Imagine this scenario. Marvin launches an unauthorized attack looking for Unique. The attack goes wrong. Several people die. Police begin investigating. Rack blames Marvin. Marvin blames Rack for not supporting him. Kenan watches his family fall apart. Meanwhile, Breeze quietly tells Kenan that families are weaknesses. Can you see where this is going? That single moment could completely reshape Kenan. One thing people often forget is that organized crime isn't destroyed only by outside enemies. Most empires collapse from within. History proves this. Mafia, drug cartels, street organizations. They usually fall apart because of betrayal, greed, or personal revenge. Rarely because another crew was simply stronger. The Thomas family is heading down that exact road. Marvin's obsession could be the crack that eventually breaks everything. Let's talk about Jukebox. She's grieving too. But unlike Marvin, she's processing that grief differently. She's becoming quieter, more distant, more observant. That contrast matters. If Marvin spirals further into violence while Jukebox withdraws emotionally, their relationship could suffer as well. We've already watched Jukebox slowly lose pieces of herself throughout the series. Seeing her father consumed by revenge might convince her that nobody in this family is capable of healing. That emotional isolation is exactly what eventually turns her into the hardened woman we meet later. Then there's Stefano. I don't think he's ignoring Marvin's actions. People like Stefano notice instability immediately. If he senses weakness inside the Thomas family, he'll exploit it. He doesn't need to choose sides. He simply waits until they're divided enough to become easy to control. That's how powerful organizations survive. They let smaller groups destroy themselves. The same applies to Breeze. The more divided the Thomas family becomes, the easier it is for Breeze to strengthen his own position. Which brings us back to Unique. Ironically, Unique may not even need revenge anymore. His enemies are destroying themselves. Sometimes the smartest move in war is doing nothing. If Marvin keeps hunting recklessly, he'll create enough damage without Unique lifting a finger. There's another possibility that's even darker. What if Marvin eventually discovers the truth? What if he learns that Unique wasn't fully responsible? Think about how devastating that would be. Every person Marvin threatened, every mistake he made, every relationship he damaged, all because he chased the wrong enemy. That guilt could completely break him. We've seen characters in the Power universe survive bullets, prison, and betrayals. But guilt, that's much harder to escape. Changes people forever. And I think that's exactly what the writers are setting up. This isn't just a revenge arc. It's a tragedy. Marvin believes he's honoring Lulu by hunting Unique. But he may actually be destroying everything Lulu spent years trying to protect. The Thomas family has survived rival crews, corrupt police, informants, and internal betrayals. Yet their greatest threat has always been themselves. Every time they let emotion overpower strategy, they lose something valuable. This time they might lose each other. If my theory is right, Season 5 won't simply be remembered for another gang war. It will be remembered as the season where Marvin's grief became the weapon that shattered the Thomas family from the inside. And by the time Marvin realizes the truth, it may already be too late. Because in the world of Raising Kenan, revenge rarely brings peace. It usually leaves behind even more graves than the crime that started it. So don't be surprised if Marvin's hunt for Unique ends with something far worse than a dead enemy. It could end with the Thomas family tearing itself apart. And once that happens, no amount of revenge will ever put it back together.